Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday and I'm back for a Friday Reads. Well, if you haven't heard, the Hugos were last weekend and it was very exciting. Women won almost everything. Almost pretty much every category, which is pretty thrilling, and it has inspired a big burst of Hugo reading this week. And so I'm going to run through the categories now and tell you about what I read and what I've thought and stuff like that. At the end of the Hugo stuff, I've got one or two other things I need to mention, so hang around to the end if you want to. Okay. Hugos. We're going to start with the best short story. Now, this award went to Amal El-Matar's Seasons of Glass and Iron. I had not read this previously, but I've read it this week. It's a very pretty story about two women who are each individually under a curse. One is under a curse with something to do with iron. One is under a curse with something to do with glass. That gives you the title. Just before the halfway point in the story, they meet, and it's a short story. I'm not going to tell you much more than that, but it's very beautifully written. If you're at all interested, it's available free online, and the link will be in the description. Second category, Best Novelette. The winner this year is Ursula Vernon's The Tomato Thief. I really enjoyed this. Again, this is available free online, and I read it this week. It is about an old woman who is a little bit more than she seems, which I always like in my old women, who lives by herself out in the desert. She has a little garden, which she's very proud of, and somebody is stealing her tomatoes, and that's where that story starts. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be looking for more of Ursula Vernon's work. The third category, the third Hugo category we're going to talk about is novella. Now, to nobody's shock, nobody at all, the winner for this category is Every Hearted Doorway by Shaman and McGuire. Everybody and their dog has loved this and, you know, raved about this on BookTube pretty much all year. I read it months ago, and I have to say, it didn't do it for me the way that it obviously did for many people. I didn't hate it. I just didn't connect to it in the same way that obviously many people have. But of the other things on the list, the only one I've read is A Taste of Honey by Ashante Wilson, and I actually really didn't like that. So, yeah, I haven't read the Penric novellas by Lois, McMaster, Bujold. That's the one on the list that I would be most interested in reading. But in Australia, they're only available on Kindle, and there are reasons that I don't buy Kindle books. Apart from the fact that I don't have a Kindle, there's reasons. Normally, if you hold on, you hang on long enough, things become more broadly available. But thus far, the Penric books are unavailable to me, which I'm a little bit sad about. But there we are. Now, the next category I'm going to tell you about is series, best series. Now, this is the first time that this category has been awarded a Hugo. As far as I know, it's still unclear whether this is going to be an ongoing category. I imagine the business meeting will have decided that, but I haven't heard the decision. There was quite a lot of talk about who was going to win this, but I'm very happy to announce, if you haven't heard, that the winner is the Vorkorsigan Saga by Lois, McMaster, Bujold. Now, this is a series that I've read many of, but not all of, and I have loved. It's a generational family saga set in space. Different parts of it are more military oriented, other parts are more family oriented, other parts, the most recent ones that I've read are more kind of detective crimey sort of thing. But I realised that I had actually a few more books of these to go. So this week I have read 3 more Vorkorsigan books, and they have all been absolute winners. So the 3 that I've read this week are Komarr, I'm probably pronouncing that entirely wrong, and this is the one in which Miles falls in love. He meets the love of his life. At the time when he meets her, she's married, which is a little bit of a complication. However, her husband is just a complete waste of oxygen, and thankfully he dies not that far into the story, and so woohoo for Miles. So it's kind of, Komarr is kind of half a romance story but mostly a kind of crime detective in space story. Very, very enjoyable. Now, at the end of the book, things are completely unresolved between him and his lady, and that's when the next book comes in. It's called A Civil Campaign, and this is set back in Bahrea, which is their home planet. So Miles, who is our central character, is the foster brother of Gregor the Emperor, and Gregor is getting married, and Miles is caught up in all this local politics stuff with the Council of Counts. And at the same time as that's going on, he is trying to prosecute his quasi-courtship of this widow without telling her that he is like courting her because she's in mourning, and yeah. Anyway, that goes badly up to a point. However, they are engaged at the end of the book, so it's not that badly. The third book that I finished this week is Diplomatic Immunity. In this one, Miles and his lady friend are married. They are actually off on a belated honeymoon a year and a half after the wedding, because there's all sorts of business had to, intervened between the wedding and the honeymoon. They have left behind their twins in utero, in artificial utero at home, and as the story opens, they are on their way back home to be there in time for the birth. Unfortunately, about 3 weeks out from their final destination, they get caught up in a diplomatic incident, and Miles, as the geographically closest member of Gregor's diplomatic corps, has to go and intervene in this blow-up that's happened in Quaddy space. And so in this story, you have, apart from all of the dramas that are going on in the ground, you also have this ticking clock element, because they need to get everything wrapped up in time that they can get back home for the birth. I thoroughly enjoyed all 3 of these books. There's now left me 3 more Vorkorsigan books before I'm completely up to date, and I'm not sure if I want to bolt them down or dole them out. But if you haven't had a look at this series, you really owe it to yourself. It's a fantastic series. 2 more categories before we get to the big one. Best Dramatic Presentation, short form, went to an episode of The Expanse. If you have not seen this, it's just amazing. I've been reading the books, but I actually saw the TV show first, and the TV show is outstanding. Best Dramatic Presentation, long form, went to Arrival, which is a bit exciting. I have actually not seen this. I bought it a month or so ago when the family was away, and I was going to, I had more time, but I never got around to watching it. It's just possible I'm going to round out my Hugo week by watching this tonight if I get a chance. Now, the biggest category of all, of course, is Best Novel. And the Hugo for Best Novel this year went to N.K. Jemisin's The Obelisk Gate. She becomes only, I think, the third author who's ever had back-to-back Hugos for Best Novel. Nobody has ever gone back-to-back 3 in a row. But if what I hear from a few other booktubers is right, it's a living possibility, because the other exciting news is that this past week was the release date for the third and final book in the trilogy, The Stone Sky, and that's what I'm going to be reading this weekend. Too exciting for words. Now, as I said at the very beginning, that I've got a couple of other things to say, and the first one of those is about VidCon. I released a tiny little promo thing yesterday, which I spent the better part of the week fiddling around with, announcing a booktuber meetup at VidCon Australia in 3 weeks' time. At the moment, it's me and Kirsty. I haven't had any direct confirmation that anybody else is coming. Now, if it just turns up to be me and Kirsty, that's fine. The two of us will have lunch and a very fine time. But if anybody else who's connected with BookTube is going to be at VidCon Australia, we would love to meet you. But it'll be a lot easier to organise if we know who we're looking for. So if you could contact me, let me know so we can look out for you, that would be great. The last thing is a completely personal thing. I have finally gone and completely got shot with my hair. It's too long. It's taking too much effort for me to try and keep it even approximately neat. So I have got an appointment with the hairdresser tomorrow, and next time you see me, it is going to be significantly different. I'm not 100% certain quite how, but if you have any immediate suggestions, I am open to suggestions. My husband's been giving me notes, but you know, he's not the only person that gets a say. So that's it. That's the news. If you have read any of these, or if you've got opinions you want to share, if you want to tell me what should have won what at the Hugos, or just agree that everything is wonderful because all the women got all the awards, I'd love to talk to you down in the comments. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.